there. I'm Austin Fisher, and today I'm going to be talking to you about performance management in the workplace and how it can be applied to our company. So, just to start off, what is performance management? Performance management is the process of managers giving feedback to employees on current performance and working together to achieve specific objectives. One quick stat to go along with that is according to a study, 54% of companies feel that performance management systems have not had a positive effect on performance. So over half of companies don't really see or don't see the value in performance management. Many HR professionals feel one of the easiest ways to improve employee performance is by having more effective performance management. So I'm going to go through some ways I think that we can, as a company, improve that performance management. And I think that effective performance management occurs when it takes place frequently in a genuine manner between manager and employee, which I'll also get into later. So just to start off, how is performance management used? So companies that use performance management, they're going to use it because it provides a formal organizational justification for employee decisions. So whether these decisions are who deserves a raise or who deserves a promotion or who needs to be laid off, it provides actual concrete evidence for the employer to use when making these decisions. It can also be used in career development. So it's a time where employees, employers, and managers can go over career goals for the employee, goals that they might have in their day-to-day job. You all can also find out the needs of the employee. So maybe they need more time, more resources. Having a strong performance management system is going to help you accomplish this. It also allows you to help check the effectiveness of your training systems. So maybe employees feel that one of the things that we're training them on isn't effective. It gives them a chance to voice that to us, and so we can make the appropriate changes. And so really, as I've said, just helps us diagnose organizational problems. So whether this is a poor hiring process or poor training and development, or maybe we're not promoting the right people or laying off the wrong people, a strong performance management system will help us make these changes. So why do companies struggle? So the number one reason is why companies struggle to use effective performance management is they just see it as too time consuming. But the exact opposite for effective performance management is actually necessary, where we need to have regular meetings with our managers and employees, once a month, 2 times a month, as opposed to what a lot of companies are doing, and that is the annual performance review, which is just a way that companies use to save time. Another thing is managers not have proper training. So a study from Rainmaker Thinking, excuse me, the study had over 500 managers from 40 different companies. So it was a very broad study with a lot of data points. And in that study, they identified 5 basic needs that five basic duties that a manager needs to have. And these were: have clear statements of what is expected, provide measurable goals and deadlines to the employees, provide detailed evaluations of these employees on how they're performing, give clear feedback on what they might need to improve on or what they're doing well, and then have rewards that are distributed fairly to the employees. And what the study found is that only 10% of managers did all 5 of these things at least once a week. Only 25% did it once a month, and a third of them didn't even do these at all at any point in the year. So there's a big discrepancy on where we need managers to be and where they're actually at for us to be successful in our performance management. And then another thing is just a lot of companies don't see the actual value in having strong performance management. So another part of that study was 92% of companies see the value in having talent and saw superior talent as a real competitive advantage. But only 10% of companies actually hold their managers and executives accountable to use what they find in their performance management systems and apply that to their employee decisions. So whether this is raises, promotions, layoffs, only 10% of companies make sure their managers and executives actually use what they find in their performance management. So what does successful performance management look like? So the first thing that managers need to do is they need to define what performance is. And there are three key elements to defining performance. These are goals, measures, and assessments. So goals are going to be used to motivate employees to achieve in their jobs. So whether the goal is they want to get a promotion or the goal is they want to fulfill this project by a deadline, those goals are going to help drive the employee performance. One key thing to make sure of, though, is we need to make sure that these goals are challenging so that it pushes the employees, but they're also attainable, because we don't want to be setting up our employees with goals that they simply cannot achieve. Second part of defining performance is we need to be able to measure. We need to be able to measure if the goals are accomplished. So it can't simply be saying, oh, we're doing a good job, the goals must be getting accomplished. We need some sort of concrete evidence in a way that goals are being accomplished. So whether this is we're producing 500 units a week or we're getting to 20 different clients a day, we need some sort of actual way to assess where these goals are being met or measure if these goals are being met, which leads me to the next part of defining performance, and that is assessment. So we need to have regular assessment of how our progress is doing in our goals, whether we need to make changes to the goals, whether we need to change how we're measuring them. We need constant assessment of whether our goals are appropriate and if our employee performance is matching up with that. The next part of successful performance management is facilitating performance. So it's the manager's job to eliminate any sort of roadblocks that might come up for the employees. So whether they don't have enough time, whether they don't have enough resources, material, money, etc., it's the manager's job to eliminate these roadblocks that might come up. And then we also need to ask ourselves as a company, are we putting our employees in a position where they can use their strengths and in a position that they can succeed? One analogy that I always hear when you look at a sports team, it's the coach's job to put the best players on the field and in a position that they can succeed. So are we as managers or the coaches for our company putting our employees in the position that they can succeed? Because if not, we're failing in facilitating performance. And then our third part of successful performance management is encouraging performance, and we can do this through rewards. So when we're looking at rewards, we need to make sure that they're actually something that the employees value. We need to avoid just giving away, an ice scraper or a $5 Starbucks gift card. We need to make sure that these employees are actually valuing the rewards. And one way we can do that is by asking them, what sort of reward would you value for achieving our goals and objectives? Another thing with the rewards is we need to make sure we're getting them to our employees in a timely fashion. We can't have our employees accomplishing whatever goal or objective they have, and 6 months later we reward them. We need to make sure, in the next week or two, we're rewarding them so they can see that there's real something to gain in addition to just achieving their goals. And then we need to make sure that these rewards are fair. So are the rewards relevant to the project or goal? Are the rewards consistent? So we need to make sure it's not just a one-time a year thing. We're consistent, and when an employee achieves a goal, we're going to reward them in some way. And then we need to also make sure we explain the rules of our reward system to the employees so they can deem it as fair. And then really successful performance management will lead to a better culture in the company, which helps overall production of the company. We're going to be able to build stronger relationships between our managers and employees, which is just going to provide that overall better culture feel, which I'll kind of get into later, and the benefits of that. So what changes can companies make, and us in particular? So we need to make sure we're training our managers on how to effectively communicate with our employees. We need to make sure that the managers know those 5 key areas, providing clear expectations, detailed evaluations, measurable goals, clear feedback, and fair rewards. We need to make sure that our managers know how to do this in a successful way. Another recommendation would be to change from old school systems such as the annual performance review to more modern systems. So we're us having 1 to 2 performance meetings a month with our employees. So the negatives that we see with annual performance reviews is our employees have what we call performance anxiety. So that's around the time of the performance review, a week before, their performance actually declines because they're thinking about their upcoming performance review because they only have it once a year. So there's a lot of stock and a lot of value put into that by the employees, and we're actually losing production around time of that performance review. It doesn't allow for us to provide the annual performance review, that is, doesn't allow for us as managers to provide consistent feedback for improvement to our employees. If we're only meeting with them once a year on their performance, we can't tell them what changes or adjustments they need to make or any recommendations that we might have that will lead them to be more successful. And there's also no real relationship being built between manager and employee. So like I talked about earlier with culture, if we're only meeting once a year and sitting down with our employees, there's not going to be any sort of relationship that we're able to build between manager and employee. But if we're meeting with them 1 to 2 times a month, that relationship can start to be built. They can take constructive criticism better. And overall, just the overall culture of the company will improve, which will lead to higher performance. And so if we have frequent performance evaluations, it's going to be the exact opposite of with the annual performance review. There's not going to be that performance anxiety that they get because we're having them regularly. It allows for consistent feedback or places that we can tell the employees that they are improving or need to still work on for improvement. And then it also just develops that relationship that I just talked about. So what does it all mean? What is successful performance management? We talked about that. Successful performance management is going to be us defining performance, facilitating that performance, and encouraging the performance of our employees. Why do companies struggle with it? A lot of companies, as we said, don't see the time or don't put the time into it. They just go with an annual performance review. Their managers aren't properly trained, and they just don't see any real value in it. But as we can see, there actually is a lot of value into having successful and strong performance management systems. And how can companies change to be more successful? So like I said, having a genuine meeting 1 to 2 times a month with the manager and the employee is going to lead to a stronger performance management system. And just a few facts to back this up. 70% of employees say they would work harder if they felt recognized. So us meeting with them 1 to 2 times a month, we're going to show them real recognition, which will lead to increased employee performance. There's a 15% lower turnover rate for companies with regular employee feedback. So that eliminates a big part of our job as HR managers in hiring and firing. If we don't have that turnover rate, it's going to give us more continuity in the company. It's going to allow our employees to develop in our company. It's going to lead to better performance for us as a company. And then 92% of employees feel constructive criticism is effective if delivered properly. So like I said, it's going to be delivered properly, but if we can develop the relationship and the culture between manager and employees. So overall, as you can see, there's a lot of reasons that we as a company should value having a strong performance management system. And there are my sources. Thank you.